E, 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 E. Shom. Hello, we are reading in the writings of Bam, page 815 in the Hebrew version. The writings of the last generation were starting in the second column where it writes before I touch upon this matter. You can watch and ask questions at N, the AR system on the topic of the lesson. Anyone who's in a study hall is requested to stand up, hold the mic close to the mouth, speak clearly and concisely. Again, we're reading in Barlow's Psalms, the writings of the last generation in part 1, where it writes, before I touch upon this matter, I will present a short introduction concerning human attributes and say that people are divided into two kinds, egoists and altruists. Egoists means that all they do is for themselves. If they ever do something for another, they must have a well-paying reward in return for their work in money, respect, etc. Altruist means that they sacrifice all their days for the well-being of others without any reward. Instead, they always neglect their own needs to help others. Moreover, among them, there are those who give their souls and their lives to the benefit of others, such as we find among volunteers who go out to war for their country. Folk, we have also found more general altruists who give their hearts and souls to help the stragglers of all the nations of their world, such as communists who fight for the benefit of oppressed among all the nations of the world. They're willing to pay for this with their very lives. Egoism is embedded in the nature of every person, as in any animal. Altruism, however, is against human nature. Yet a chosen few are imparted to this nature, and I call them idealists. Yet the majority of any society or state is made of simple flesh and blood flow. Simple flesh blood folk, meaning egoists only a few, 10% at most, the exceptional altruists. Now I shall come to the point for the above reason that altruists are few in every society. The first communists before came our time were unsuccessful in spreading communism in the world, as in their saying, one bird does not make a summer. In addition, some of them even established communal cement settlements like the Kim in our country, but they failed because they could not endure. This happened because all the members of the communal society must be altruistic idealists like the founders themselves, since 90% of any society, even the most developed, are egoists. They could not keep up with the conduct of a cooperative society, which is purely altruistic by nature. This continued until the time of K.L. Marx, when a very successful plan for the expansion of communism was devised, namely to incorporate the oppressed themselves in the war of communism, so they would fight alongside them against the capitalist bourgeois government, since the oppressed are interested in this war only for their own good, meaning for egoistic reasons. They immediately accepted the plan, and thus communism spread through all the levels of the stragglers and the oppressed. Since the stragglers are the majority in society, it is no surprise that today communism has succeeded in encircling a third of their world. However, this coupling of altruist communists with egoistic proletariat, though it was successful in overthrowing the bourgeois government hated by both, that coupling still fails to keep a cooperative government with just division. The reason is very simple. A person does not make a move unless there is some purpose that necessitates that movement. That purpose serves as the motivating force to make that move, like fuel that moves a machine. For example, one does not move his hand from one place to another unless he thinks that in the other place he will be more comfortable resting his hand. That purpose of seeking a more comfortable place for his hand is the fuel pushing his hand from this place to the other. Needless to say, a worker who labours all day must have fuel for the laborious movements he makes, and this is the reward he receives for his work. The reward he receives is the fuel that motivates him to his hard work. Thus, if no reward is given for his labour, or if he has no need for that reward, he will not be able to work. He will be like a machine that was not fueled. Even the most gullible person in the world will not think that this machine will ever move hence in a purely communist regime where the worker knows that he will not be given more if he works more or receive less if he works less, and all the more so in light of the absolute motto each will work according to his ability and will receive according to his needs. The worker will neither be rewarded for his diligence nor fear his own negligence, thus he would have no fuel to motivate him to work. The labour productivity of the workers would then drop to zero until they ruin the entire regime. No schooling in the world will help in inverting human nature to be able to work without fuel, meaning without reward. The exception to this rule is the natural-born altruist idealist, for whom the best reward is the good of the other. This altruistic fuel is entirely sufficient for him as a motivating force to work, like the egoistic reward for all other people. However, idealists are few, their number is insufficient for society to base itself on. And thus you see that communism and altruism are one and the same. I know there are ways to compel workers to complete their share of their work that the supervisors will give them by the same conduct as in a bureau government, where each is rewarded according to his productivity. In addition, harsh punishments can be imposed on the negligence, as in the Soviet countries. However, this is not communism whatsoever. Needless to say, it is not the paradise that the communist regime is hoped to bring about, one worthy of giving one's life. For on the contrary, a government such as this is far worse than the capitalist government, for unambiguous reasons that I will present. Although had that compulsive government been a step toward the perfect communism, it would still be possible to accept and tolerate it. However, this is not the case. No training in the world will reverse human nature from egoism to altruism. Therefore, the oppressive regime applied in their Soviet countries is an eternal regime that can never be changed, and when they wish to change it into a truly cooperative regime, the workers will run out of fuel, they will not be able to work, and will destroy the government. Thus egoism and anti-communism are one and the same, identical. Moreover, a compulsive communist government is completely unsustainable, since a bayonet-dependent government cannot persist, and the majority will ultimately rise against it and abolish it. The idealist 10% will not be able to rule over the egoistic 90% and the anti-communists forever, as we find in Soviet and Eastern countries. Moreover, even that handful of communist idealists that lead these countries today are not guaranteed to stay that way for generations, since ideals are not hereditary. Although the progenitors are idealists, there is no guarantee that their progeny will follow suit. Thus, how can we be certain that the leadership of the second or third generation will be in the hands of communist idealists as it is today? You might say that the majority will always elect them from the public, but this is a grave mistake. The egoistic majority of the public will elect only those who are close to them in spirit, not their opponents. Moreover, it is common knowledge that today's leaders were not elected by the public at all. Thus, who would see that the elected representatives of their public will always be the idealists in their public. When the egoists are in power, they are sure to revoke that government immediately, or at least turn it into a kind of national communism, a nation of lords. All that I have said when I proved that communism and altruism are the same, and that egoism and anti-communism are the same, is my own view. However, if you ask the communists themselves, they will deny it vehemently. They will claim the opposite. We are far from any bourgeois morals. We have no sentimentality. It is only justice that we seek, that no man shall have exploit another. In other words, it is according to the attribute mine be mine, and let yours be yours, which is in fact the attribute of our egoists. Hence, I must view the matters from their perspective and review this justice that they seek and to which they devote their lives first according to the development of the communist regimes. I find that the term B and proletariat no longer suffice to explain that economic history, and we need more general terms is to divide society into a class of diligent and a class of strugglers. In the Bazi regimes, the diligents are the capitalists and the middle class, the stragglers, are the workers who labour for them. In the communist regimes, the diligent are the managers, supervisors and intellectuals, and the stragglers are the workers who labour for them. The majority in every society is always the stragglers. The diligent are no more than 30% of society. It is a natural law that the class of the diligent will exploit the class of their stragglers as best as they can, like fish at sea where the strong swallows the weak. It is inconsequential whether the diligent capitalists and merchants, as in the Bourrus regimes, or whether the diligent of the managers, supervisors, intellectuals and ayots, as in communist regimes. Ultimately, the diligent will exploit the labouring stragglers to the best of their ability and will take no pity on them. Diligent will always suck out the butter and the cream, leaving the workers only the meagre. We only question is what remains for the workers after the ruthless exploitation by the diligent, the measure of enslavement the diligent impose on them, and the measure of freedom and human liberty the diligent allow them. It is only according to the measure of these leftovers which the diligent leave for their stragglers that we are to examine every regime, differentiate between the regimes and choose which one is preferable. Let us mention once more what we said, that one cannot work without some reward that serves as a fuel for a machine. In a non-altruistic communist regime, the workers must be rewarded for their work and be heavily punished for their negligence. However, many supervisors are required to watch over them, for without sufficient supervision the rewards and punishments are certain to insufficient. However, there is no harder work than standing over people and agonizing them, for no one wants to be a hangman. Hence, even if you place inspectors appointees over the inspectors and hire still appointees to watch them, they will all be negligent in their supervision and will not agonize the workers sufficiently. There's no cure for this but to provide plenty of fuel to the functionaries efficient as reward for such hard labour, meaning the work of the hangman. In other words, they must be given several times more than a simple worker. Thus you should not be surprised if functionaries in Russia are paid 10 to 50 times more than a simple worker. Their work is 10 to 50 times harder than that of a simple worker. They're not sufficiently rewarded. They will be compelled to neglect their office and the state will be ruined. Now try to calculate in our country's currency. Let's say that a simple worker earns 100 Israeli pounds a month. This means that the lowest functionaries will receive 000 a month, meaning 10 times more. Over 1 year he will earn 12,000, and over 10 years £120,000. If we deduct 10% for this from this for his sustenance, he will be left with 108,000. It seems that we should consider him a respectable capitalist. It's even more so with higher functionaries. Thus, within a few decades, the functionaries will become millionaires at no risk, but strictly through the exploitation of their workers. As I have said, by today's experience, society should no longer be divided into bourrus and dari, but to diligent and stragglers. You might say that this is but a phase toward pure communism, meaning that to education and public opinion the public will be cheated until each will work according to his ability and will receive according to his needs. Then there will be no need for inspectors or supervisors. This is a big mistake, because the motto of each working according to his ability and receiving according to his needs is a strictly altruistic motto, and wherever one can work to the benefit of society without any fuel, it is unnatural unless altruism is the reason. and the fuel for the work, as I have shown thus. We must not hope for any change for the better, quite the contrary. We must fear that a handful of idealist communists who are leading today will not beat their leadership to other idealists. The egoistic force of their people will gradually prevail. They will choose a leadership according to their egoistic spirit and will reinstate capitalism. At the very least, they will turn communism into some sort of national communism, a nation of masters, as did Hitler. They will have no inhibitions about exploiting other nations to benefit themselves if they only have the power. You might say that through education and public opinion, the nature of the masses can be inverted into altruism. This is also a grave mistake. Education cannot do more than public opinion, meaning that public opinion will respect the altruists and degrade the egoists. As long as public opinion sustains altruism by means of respect and ignominy, education will be effective. However, if there comes a time when an experienced and competent speaker gives a daily speech that is the opposite of public opinion, he will undoubtedly be able to change public opinion as he wishes. We already have such a better experience in history with that villain who turned a well-mannered people like the Germans into wild animals through his daily sermons. Several hundred years of education vanished like a bubble of soap, since public opinion had changed and education had nothing more to rely on, as education cannot exist without the public support. Thus you evidently see that there is no hope to change this compulsive government. There is also no hope that the masses will ever achieve true communism. According to the motto, each will work according to his ability and will receive according to his needs. Rather, the workers must remain eternally under the dreadful rod of managers and supervisors, while the managers and supervisors will always suck the blood of their workers, as bourgeois capitalists do, if not much worse than they. After all, in the compulsory regime of the communists, the workers do not even have the right to strike. Famine and destruction will always hang over their heads, as the Soviet experiment teaches. Moreover, if a compulsory government is ever revoked, society would certainly be ruined instantaneously, for the workers would run out of fuel. Indeed, it is said that in a communist regime it is worthwhile for the workers to suffer, since they suffer for themselves, as they are the owners of their productive means, the property and the surplus, and no one can exploit them. Conversely, in a capitalist regime they only have their daily bread, and all the surplus is given to the capitalist. How lovely these words are on the surface, yet if there is an ounce of truth in these words, then they apply to the diligent, who are the functionaries and the managers who take all the pleasures of the compulsory regime in any case, but to the proletariat, namely the struggling workers, these are completely empty words. Let us take our railroads for example. They are state property, meaning that the ownership of the railroad is in the hands of all the citizens of the state. I ask, do any of us citizens feel a right to ownership of the railroad any greater benefit when travelling on a nationalised railway than when travelling on a private capitalist railway? We can also take a cooperative owned entirely by the workers, like Bonnet, large construction corporation in Israel, owned solely by the workers. Do the workers who work on their own property have any additional benefit than when working for a foreign capitalist property? I fear that one who works for the foreign entrepreneur will feel much more at home than one who works for one, although he is seemingly a co-owner. Only the handful of managers has the entire ownership, and they do with this national property as they see fit. A private citizen is forbidden even to inquire what they are doing and for what. Thus the workers feel no delight in the property of the state and the means of production that is under the hands of the executives and the functionaries, who always oppress and humiliate them as the dust of the earth. What then is the surplus that they have in the compulsory communist regime? more than their daily bread. I am not at all envious of the workers who are and will be in the compulsory communist regime under the harsh encumbrance of the functionaries and inspectors who can torture them with all sorts of atrocities, oblivious to the opinion of the public and the world, as all the advertising mediums are in the hands of the clerks. No one will be able to expose their evil deeds in public. In addition, everyone will be bound by them, unable to leave the country and escape from them, just as our fathers were locked in Egypt, where no slave could leave there to be free, since every worker leaves all the surplus of his production for the state. So how will they let them go elsewhere when the state law is their surplus? In a word, a non-altruistic communist regime must always consist of two classes: the diligent, who are the managers, the functionaries, and the intellectuals, and the class of the who are the productive workers, the majority of society. For the functioning of the state, the class of the diligent must, willingly or unwillingly, enslave, tantalize, and humiliate the working class. Mercilessly and shamelessly they will exploit them 10 times more than the bourgeois exploit them, for they will be utterly defenseless, as they will not have the right to strike. They will be unable to disclose the evil deeds of the employers in public, and they will take no pleasure at all in the ownership of the means of production that the functionaries have acquired. One more thing, and this is the most important: communism must correct more than just the economic order, must also assure the minimal existence of the people in the world. In other words, it is to prevent wars, so that nations will not destroy one another. I have already screamed like a crane about it back in 1933 in my book The Peace Pamphlet, warning that wars today have come to such proportions that they endanger the life of the entire world. The only counsel to prevent this is by all the nations adopting the regime of the perfect communism, meaning altruistic. Needless to say, today, after discovery and use of atom bombs and the discovery of hydrogen bombs, there is no longer a doubt that after 1, 2, or 3 wars, the entire human civilization will be totally ruined, leaving no relics. Contemporary modern egoist communism cannot secure peace in the world, for even if all the nations of the world adopt this communist regime, there will still not be a compelling reason for nations rich in production, means raw materials, and civilization to share the raw materials and productive means equally with the poor nations. For example, the nations of America will not want to equalize their standard of living with the Asian or African countries, or even with the European nations. A single nation might have the power to equalize the standard of living of the rich and middle class, the owners of the productive means, with the proletariat, by inciting the poor masses, the majority of society, to destroy the rich and middle class and take their property. However, this counsel will not be of any use in compelling a wealthy nation to share its property and means of production with a poor nation, as the rich nation has already prepared arms and bombs to keep itself from its poor neighbours. Thus, what good did the communist regime do in the world? It leaves intact the state of envy among the nations, just as it is in the capitalist regime, without any relief or just division within each nation, for itself will not assist to a just division among the nations whatsoever. Hence, while basic sustenance is under such immediate danger, it is a waste of time to improve the economic government. They would be better off using that time to seek counsel to save the very life of all mankind. You see that the whole problem with today's communist regime is the lack of adequate reward, which is the fuel for the productive force of their workers. It is impossible to employ them successfully except with the fuel of reward and punishment. For this reason, we need inspectors, supervisors, and managers to take upon themselves this hard work of supervising the workers and ruthlessly suck their blood and sweat, making their lives endlessly bitter with hardship and enslavement also in return for this hard work, they must be given an adequate reward, which is no less than to make them millionaires, for they will not want to be hangmen of their own free will for any less than that, as we see in the Soviet country. Also, there is no hope that this reign of terror will ever end, as the optimists promise neither bayonets nor education or public opinion can change human nature to work willingly without adequate fuel. Hence, it is a curse for generations when the compulsory government is revoked. The workers will no longer yield produce that will suffice for the sustenance of the state. There's no cure for this but to bring faith in spiritual reward and punishment from above into the hearts of the workers from He who knows the mysteries. Thus, through the right education and promotion, that spiritual reward and punishment will be sufficient fuel for the produce of their work. They will no longer need managers or supervisors over their shoulders, but each and everyone will work willingly and wholeheartedly for society to win his or her reward from heaven. Show questions. No, well, it's hard to argue with Bam, because his analysis is so kind of a clear-cut, but the conclusion ultimately is that the solution is spiritual reward. Yes, which is also egoistic, right? Yes, so where, or let's start from the beginning. From what we read, he defines what's an atheist, what's an altruist. The world is divided to two kinds based on this definition. I think I'm an egoist also. We checked before the lesson. We saw that we all agreed that we are egoists, and even the thousands of students who come here and expect a certain reward. So the question is then, why doesn't the whole world just come and want to study like us if there is a reward? I mean, the revelation of the Creator is the greatest reward. There is seemingly they're not in the same thing as with us. What could be a greater reward than revelation of their Creator? I don't know, ask them, but I'll tell you that they want rest, all kinds of games. Why speak about the next world? How does that attract them? No, so what characterizes us is that we have a more evolved imagination. Apparently, yeah, the difference is in the desire. The solution he gives at the end is that everyone will work to win their reward from heaven. So why doesn't it happen today? Why don't people come to win a reward from heaven? What will change? They do not believe, they do not feel that it's their reward. So what will cause them to feel? We have to market it better, I think. Mushy yesterday complained that people don't come to study every day, that it's hard to bring them to that. So I don't know, I think we progress not according to the good reward that illuminates to us in front of us, but according to the punishment. So you could say that those that we escape from, really, we escape from blows, from troubles. The whole world escapes troubles. No. Yes, and each and every one has its own, has its different depiction. I cannot say usually people come to the wisdom of Kabbalah because they do not see in any form, in any place, in any method some reward, and here somehow they think that they will know how reality is constructed and how they can reach a state where they will gain benefits. So in the corrected ideal regime, he describes what's supposed to happen. Firstly, those who wish to make contact with that degree which is called the corrected regime, those are people who will want the corrected regime at least in some kind of way. Those who come here, I'm not seeking the corrected state, so that's something else. But again, those who will come will be egoists, right? Everyone. So what motivates them? He explains there needs to be few, either less suffering or more pleasure. Why don't people today believe there is something called spirituality or Creator, which is the salvation from all the troubles, and now they'll start believing it? I don't see that state. I don't see that is a state. And why should I believe in that? So why will people suddenly begin to believe that? What's the difference between that and coming as promising something to their workers that soon it'll be good and everyone will have equality and everyone will have everything? What's a difference? No difference. So how will it happen? I don't know. We learn together. In the meantime, the real solution is still unknown. Yes, Jalad. First of all, it's really great analysis of BAM, I think. Anyone who studied K-Marx or something similar can see the logic here, but he says he divides it to diligent and stragglers. This is the true division. He says put aid egoist and altruist. That doesn't solve anything. The altruists are always a few, they will never succeed. So he says there's diligent and stragglers. And then at the end he says there's no advice besides to bring into the heart of the worker the spiritual reward and punishment from he who knows all mysteries, meaning to replace the reward. Yes, but even then, you will still have diligent and stragglers. How does he solve that? Cancel competition by that. No measurement for the no amount for the person themselves. Meaning a person has something that you can attain which is your, and you don't rob anyone of that, and you also don't compete with anyone for that. So please, that is before you, it's before you, but there will still be people who will be diligent and do the task all the way. That's all on your calculation that you say that you want to say that there is a matter here of who is the first. No, there is no first or last here. It doesn't matter, it doesn't exist, but everyone here is as one. And how do you rise above nature? That the nature that does look at who's first and whose, he says that according to nature it's not that, just that there's a gap there, but the diligent will always take advantage of their stragglers. So how will this solve this problem of nature? The problem of nature here is solved through that in which it is precisely the opposite, that each one leaves. Who leaves his ego is the one who succeeds, and if he leaves nature more than the other, there's doesn't matter, there's no comparison here. No, completely not. The whole world is not lacking, that you are before me and that you want to cut from the world and to swallow up something. No, yes. At the end he says that the counsel is that spiritual reward and punishment can give fuel. We see that a person for the reward of the next world can kill others and also kill himself. We see examples, but I still don't see the example that one can work for others for the sake of spiritual reward and punishment. I believe you that you haven't seen such people yet. So how? First of all is because you cannot see what they are working for. You can only imagine to yourself, according to your labor and work, what the person who is next to you is doing. Accordingly you can depict in your vessels their efforts and also according to that their goal. I can't understand why this law doesn't work. If I can convince a person for the sake of the next world, whatever a person describes it, that he can kill others and himself, why can't I convince a person to work for the others and for the sake of society for the purpose of getting the next world? Why doesn't it work according to the same formula? Seems that this reward, the next world, is concealed, yet, but it's sufficient in order to give my life to kill others. It's a very radical thing, and I can convince millions of people to do that, and yet convincing people to work for the others according to that formula, to work according to the ability, receive according to the need, it's completely the opposite. But there's a reward of the next world. It's not sufficient. He says it's sufficient here that this can give a person the fuel for the next world we need for in our times. Working for the next world doesn't work so much, but he says here that promotion together with the reward of the next world will be sufficient for one to work for others. I think that we're already beyond that. That maybe he means actual revelation of the upper system, that is sufficient for a person as fuel to work for others. Maybe we should read further on. I don't know, but I don't have enough. I don't have enough in order to answer that duty. What does it mean to bring into the heart of the worker the unbelief, faith in reward and punishment, spiritual reward and punishment from heaven, that the person will feel that truly in spiritual attainment he will find reward of against punishment. And then what does he feel when he's on such a level of faith and reward and punishment from heaven? How does he work in society? What does he feel? He acts in society because he believes that reward and punishment come to him in exchange for his Work, what is the reward and punishment that's felt there? What moves him, what motivates him? Bestow is the reward, and the contrary reception is punishment. How to bring that to the heart of their work through study and dissemination. From the text I got the impression that until a person wants the change, he won't change at least some beginning. Can you bring a person just through unpromotion to awaken his point in the heart? It's possible, so you can awaken the point in the hearts through promotion. Yes, religion so promises reward to a person. If he does actions of lishma, he'll get reward in this world and the next world. Is it the same here? What he's talking about, it's still not understood. Seemingly, no, he doesn't speak with them in such a way. Person needs to feel the fuel from the spiritual reward. Yes, who provides that? The upper force. I would think it's maybe from some other people, some society that does have the AP force, not directly. Now that's the condition of the people society, that's the condition, but their connection with the upper world and creator to receive a certain kind of reward, that's between the person and the creator. So this force has to be inside society. No, society doesn't need so only education and promotion, and he himself develops that kind of, yeah, let's say, give it to the person behind you. Most of the article he talks about coercion. He says you can force a person, but the moment you let loose a bit, he goes back to man, goes back to what he does. And at the end of the article, he proposes a spiritual solution. Now we also see on our path that part of the spiritual path there is, but you coerce yourself. So the question is, what is the magic here? Why, when a person forces himself, it does hold water, but when there's external corporeal coercion, it doesn't hold water because it's against his ego. He resists that within himself. When he forces himself, he's not resistant inside, he's kind of like split. No, let's say yes, but it somehow does work eventually. Yes, we read that the foundation is the will to receive that is imprinted in each person, and there's a mechanism that is called equivalence of form. I'm trying to isolate the thing called equivalence of form from what we just read. What is that? What is that acquisition that we acquire called equivalence of form? That campaign, that attitude towards the way we relate to the reward. What is that mechanism called equivalence of form? What is that factor called equivalence of form? Equivalence of form is when that system that exists in man, where he depicts for himself his state, and that system that exists outside of him in spirituality, when they reach equivalence form, we read that the future governance regime would supply the worker reward, that the worker will be satisfied and won't need external forces to push him to work. Yes, what does he acquire before that? When he approaches the work, how does he have the value for this reward? Where does it come from? From the environment, from the influence of the environment he sees as much as his friends respect that reward. But in the point where he's a natural egotist, he has yet to acquire it. How does he enter this work? Where he what? Does he clothe a certain suit, and all of a sudden there's a new set of values? How does this process happen? What does he have to go through in order to receive such a way to relate things? He learns from the environment that all forms of bestow, from the small to the big ones, are all respectable. The environment respects them. That's what he learns. But well, he just gave the conclusion that we need spiritual reward and punishment to kind of crack the code here. So I think the paragraphs that we're going to read will be where he gives some of the answers I wanted to ask. First of all, we can take many examples from how Bam kind of lowers the wisdom of Kabul here to the ground, and like an example towards our dissemination of how he's capable of doing this. Yes, which happens to be very difficult for us. But I wanted to ask, even before that, where you said that the difference between each regime is how many remnants there are, and those who were hard are left, there are those who are kind like the lazy ones. And in a communistic regime, it's very clear. There's a very clear revelation of evil, and maybe in us the communism kind of dissipated from the world, but In us it's kind of still concealed it. Still works in the same way, but the revelation of evil becomes more concealed. So I'm asking here with my corrupted eyes whether we're going in the way of development we need to be more and more recognition of evil. And actually, when you go backwards, with the communism, there's a lot of revelation of evil. There's this ripeness to breach into spirituality, and today, it's kind of like hidden. It's happening the same way, maybe even worse, but it's not concealed and hidden from the eye. You're right. Can we understand why it's like that? Habit. Does that mean habit becomes a second nature? Okay, is talking about the public opinion that is trying to advertise corporal altruism, and he seemingly says that it works, but it's not stable because at some point a certain speaker will come along, and it's also the final matter of the campaign. It's not a matter of the opinion or my 10, but the method of using the environment is kind of like also there. And also there's so actually what I understand is that I need to search for why this will work spiritually in quality, but because in what way is the corporal altruism different than the spiritual reward on a value me measure? I have to kind of like seek this qualitative difference. Yeah, and what is it different, and what do you think? Eliism, it sounds like in altruism we don't rise above ourselves. We will want all of humanity to be happy. And we kind of also, if it will happen, everyone will be brothers and sisters of mine, and I'll truly work for everyone. We truly rise above ourselves. We remain egoism with the spiritual, but with the spiritual reward there's our external body called the creator. So there's a certain degree, but we didn't read that yet. Tell me if no, it's too early to ask. Well, okay, no. Well, you have like a custom of asking every lesson. Yes, why does a godly Kabbalist with the soul and the spiritual world corrected, what does he need? The reality of the world of beasts. What do it interest him to arrange the beasts in a certain order? Those exalted souls determine that as much as they can go lower into the depth of this world, and to touch the lowest, smallest souls, the ones, their loneliness, low souls. By this they can measure the magnitude of their soul in this world of the beasts. In this reality of the beasts amongst them hide lowly souls. I don't know, I don't understand what's the need of such a great Kabbalist. He probably knows. Even if you can find an answer, you can relax, because the Kabbalist knows what he's doing. I have no doubt that he knows what he's doing. I just want to understand and acquire for myself this need to care for this world. I guess there's a need, even if there's questions we don't have answers about. We find it sufficient that we see how the great ones care about this and their Cal. Yes, he writes here that education alone won't succeed in changing anything, so there needs to be also the public opinion. Yes, so what is this public opinion, and how do we influence the public opinion so that the education will succeed? By dissemination, and we don't know as much as troubled in this made a lot of efforts, despite the fact that he seemingly according to the solution he gives in the end, until the creator awakens the need for spiritual reward. But as much as the creator awakens humans are the ones that need to extend it. If we do dissemination, by that we are causing the upper force to awaken in the hearts of those people are yearning for spiritual reward. Correct. Oh, there's more. All that Spam wrote happened. It's truly, you can see it, and it's written that during those times communism circumvented 2/3 of the world. The question is, what's today? Today, is there disappointment from the ideology, or are there less you meager people that are suffering today? We going back to the egoistic swamp, just like that. There aren't any people who great ones, that no small ones who go up and down. It's like a kind of a swamp, and today their people have fear from the word itself. Communism is that. Can that be a problem with, because they're speculating on all those names? They take a word and they make it into anything they want, nothing else. That you were already. All the people with the point in their heart are those potential altruists. Yes says that the communists are altruists and I understand that the society is egoistic yet, so how can you erect a perfect society? Don't ask me about what's not written. We're learning from what we read because he's planning to erect a society. That's so ask him. All right, that's it. Okay, no more so. Good morning, dear Rev. The world is in a period of artificial intelligence and robotics, and this is moving to workers and animals. The question is, how can connection be to make the aspiration of the Creator to the hearts of their nations? I don't understand the end of the sentence. I didn't understand the question is, how can we place the aspiration of their connection that should be between us? How can we connect in order to bring their people to long to reveal the Creator in their hearts? We first of all have to connect correctly, then we'll be able to publish the correct connection between us, to advertise it to all nations and to show them an example. This connection for now we didn't attain it. This connection includes our international group. That's it, except for that we don't need anything if we connect between us as close as we can as one man with one heart. In this way, humanity will be able to understand what the secret of connection is and what they need to do, and through our system they will also want to join it. That's it. Something doesn't work out for me. Why put the corporeal interaction under the laws of ball and not leave them under the laws of reception? Person invests and receives according to that's how he writes. Maybe in a different place we'll see otherwise. Let's keep going for now. There are a lot of questions here. Who are these altruists that he's writing about that are 10% of humanity, that they have a tendency organize a communistic connection between humans? How do they exist in nature? From what they don't exist, we could say they exist in their imaginations. Okay, in their imagination. Okay, so let's say there's a certain quantity, and let's say just like they ask if there's education and public opinion that supports, then everyone can join this seemingly. Yes, meaning if the education ministry and the communication and ministry, we could bring the world to this if we could enter those things in the past. We really wanted that to happen. We wanted to do that. Ask of you. He's right. That we really wanted to try and reach a village commune style and there implement all the forms that mentions, but I'm talking about the whole country. Israel is a small country. If we had access to those ministries, would we be able to know? No, that's not important. We see this as an example from above. Okay, now let's say that the only correction is the spiritual reward. What's the motivation for an altruist to a connection with the upper force? He's already an altruist. Why does he even need to? He already enjoys. No, he's an altruist and potential, but not practical. He doesn't really have a connection yet with all those that surround him, and he's not in connection with the whole world. He's still not attempting to do it or anything, so maybe it should also be clear to anyone who learns with us. Actually, what's the difference between that altruism that Palam is describing, that the people have, and actually spirituality? What by trying to make efforts towards unity, corporeal unity between us. By this we need to feel how we can reach a spiritual unity which is seemingly more advanced than this natural altruism that he's talking about. I don't understand. Who are you talking about? The altruists in humanity, those 10% that need to operate in love of others, to sacrifice themselves, etc. Similarly, all the ideals between us as well are in them. Yes, so the question I'm saying, what's the difference between that and spiritual attainment? What's the addition? The addition is very precious, because then we start feeling between us by our efforts to connect under the conditions that the Kabbalah demands. We can in our eyes attain the conditions of the last generation in practice. We the egoists that are here, the spiritual egoists that are here, can we? Do we need to work with the altruists on the outside? Do we have some kind of connection to that? Here you're starting to scrutinize. It's not the topic, it's still far Okay, alright, so in the end I want, again this point, to refine this natural. Altruist receives some feeling, some pleasure from this concern, but he doesn't actually have a connection with an upper force. He doesn't have a connection with the feeling of all reality as we aspire to, which it's completely not what we're talking about, meaning he operates on one plane and we want to reach something much greater, much more, actually a connection with the upper force, not just a mechanical action of the main thing, is because it comes for to us as a command from the Creator. That's why we're implementing it. We are disconnecting from the Creator. On the contrary, all of our connection is in order to support Him. Now, theoretical question, although we don't like to engage in theory, but is there a way to expand this circle of altruism even before you bring in the upper force into the picture, or is that attitude of the 9010 is at the moment? I don't think you can succeed by that. You for sure can't succeed if you don't bring the force of the Creator with you, if you work from within Him, through Him. Thank you. So what actually is to learn how reality is built? How do we learn how reality is constructed or built? How? By sitting and studying. But if we're not yet connected, is there a possibility to study the upper reality as much as we can in any state, on every degree we're learning? And that's how we ascend meaning from the perception of reality of each and every one of us. After all, each of us has a different perception of reality, right? Yeah, if we're not yet connected, like you say, how do we take in this common work of ours every day, the perception of reality of each and everyone, and take it to one inclusive picture, and from that learn the force? We try to process everything in our society. The direction need to constantly be that we're above the ego, and with help from the Creator. Thank you. It sounds like the definition of altruism that B writes about is like in advance. It's a clash, because even when a person tries towards others to fill the others, and what is he trying to fill them? For it to be good for them corporally, so it's not really doing good for them. Besides, meaning altruism alt together without the upper force, without something outside of creation, is not defined altogether. Correct, because we need to see the connection through the Creator, that the source of the connection, usually it's the creation, the Creator. It's all through that force that He's creating us, raising us, connecting us and encompassing us, surrounding us in every moment. So that's actually the reason why the spiritual reward is different, because it has something outside of all of creation. And if we sanctify the public opinion with that value, then it can work, because then I won't chase after. Correct, and that's what all the people in the world, all of humanity, still have to go through according to. There's always, no matter what the regime, there's a certain layer of those who are diligent and those who are kind of like the failed ones. Spirituality always create this stimulus in those strong ones, or I don't know, forever, I don't know what. That word, it completely takes me out. Okay, today the spiritual revolution, does it need to be begin from the diligent, or will it come from the failed ones? I don't think it ever starts from the failed part. It's a diligent who want to receive that force, the control into their hands, so they need the failing part and to add them in, so they have a masse force that they can go and win. The very fact that I'm kind of diligent, is that mean that my goal is to exploit the weak ones, or that I is a diligent person? Would I want to start a spiritual revolution because I might have an advantage on most of the weaker ones? So why should I find a method that will kind of hurt me as a diligent person? You're searching for a way to succeed, and you understand that the diligent was, let's say it's 10% of humanity, so they have no way to succeed. You have to add to you that other 90%. They don't have any special forces, but they only have a mass that's their force. So you go to them and you start awakening them and connecting them, and by that you can succeed. Is that called a revolution? That's what Lenin did in all those becks, and so on. Will spirituality also come in the form of such a revolution? I don't know in what way, but it's clear that the capitalists that are individuals in the world, they will need to gather around them many people that specifically through them they will be able to ascend to a degree that they'll be able to bestow on all of society fail. Yes, what Bam writes is that eventually what will compel a person to work for others is the spiritual reward. Yes, now he writes here in the writings of the last generation about orders that will settle upon the collective of the society, all the public. Now there's a very small people in this big mass of people that says that they don't believe in an upper force. I also don't believe in an upper force. Now we're saying how we can organize our life in a better, in a more rational way, more natural, more correct way. But if he doesn't believe in an upper force, and the only thing that compel him to work for is his spiritual reward, and how can he connect to that reward? How can he even want it? What's spiritual reward? That's also a question. What is a spiritual reward? No, that's something we don't talk about. I don't know how you fell from above right now from the skies. We want to connect to us all, those who feel themselves miserable, failed, that have no future, that they don't know what to do with their friends, with their children, and in this way we can advance. That's a meaning from the troubles. They will understand that there's no else besides him, not for the others, for themselves. Okay, I need to think more or less everyone's egoists, but there are also the few chosen ones that are altruists, that have a certain touch upon the second nature. Now what's not clear from history, we know that all those altruists that built in Russia, so-called, I didn't see all my life, yet they have some kind of high communist thing. I don't trust them and don't see them. Okay, we're always there. I'm asking, let's say there are such real people, don't they feel like there's really some? Ask them according to the laws of nature, like he explains, they have to feel that it's from their creator. Sir, I don't know, I'm not from them, and I don't know them. I'm asking because if there are such people who have a natural tendency to be altruists, if we turn to them and explain, if it doesn't work, you know how much that comes. I have yet to see altruists. I have yet to see people that live in disconnection from this world. No, that's it. So you don't believe in it? No, at least I don't rely on that, and I don't build upon that, so that should be clear. The writings of the generation try and bring closer to the correction of the world. Yes, and that'll happen by a spiritual correction. Could be, well, that's concept as much as I understand. Well, and the spiritual correction is from in order to receive to in order to bestow. Yes, are we close to in order to bestow? Can we reach such a correction? Can we? Yes, are we close? No, what do we need to do in order to come close to prepare ourselves for an inner revolution? How do we reach that inner revolution? To respect, bestow above reception. How can we now, while reading it, be concentrated in that? We're learning about this. The concentration depends on everyone. It doesn't seem that each one, what do you want from me? I want me and you together to try and be still upon everybody. I don't know, but I hear questions about the outside, and why we don't concentrate on us. I'm trying to explain what needs to happen in order to see the world inverted. Okay, thank you. No, okay. Well, sorry for asking about myself. Go. What will correct me? What will correct me? What will correct you? Just like everyone else will take upon themselves the condition of changing internally, and then the reforming light will appear to him and change him. I see around me like this weird movie called The Creator organized everything, and everyone is asking questions as if it's themselves or the world. The goal will correct me because I can't even make efforts by myself. I don't want it, but I can't move towards the Creator for his benefit. I'm stuck in the middle, almost dead, and I prefer to be dead because I want to make efforts to the Creator all day, but I can't do anything. And the Creator gave me something special to give the world, and I don't know how to understand what it is. I don't know how to work, how to give it to the world, and everybody is already focused on the connection, and I can't do one action towards it. That is called recognition of evil. That's considered the recognition of evil. What you now are telling us about yourself. Yes, we agree with this more or less. That's how each and everyone feels. That is not capable of doing any act of giving, only reception. Why do I see actions of giving? You see, yes, I see that outside of me, but in me there's not even one action of giving. Will continue and discover that there is giving. Well, all correct me. What will correct you? Where you will practice ideally begin to bestow to friends to help them, to work with them, to do something. Again, the friends are so, their friends are so merciful, and they give me opportunities to do something. And we heard that we already heard it, and I'm not doing. I have something I can do, but I can't move. Oh, it's like I don't deserve to sit in this chair. Nothing else I can do. I want to work every day to bring the creator system to wholeness. But you don't have room for it. There is room, but I can't make efforts. I don't have motivation, don't have fuel. You need to take the Siddha prayer, a book, and begin to read it from the beginning to the end a few times, slowly, and then you will see there your words, your desires, all your requests. You'll find it all there under the prayer book. Yes, thank you. Okay, what are we doing? So we have a letter by the Rash that we didn't read, please. So just say, friends, before the next part of the lesson, we'll remind everybody that on Sunday, June 30, we will have a World Unity evening called Building a Spiritual Society. In it will be broadcast on the and a link to for there will be sent la 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 la. We are reading from the writings of Rabash, letter number 39. Shalom, hello, and all the best to my friends. I received £10 for P, which is half a 10 is a she, and half of it is 10. It is written in the Holy Z, but half a shekel is called 10, which is a stone with which to weigh the contribution to the Lord. We should interpret the words of the Holy Z. Half a she means that when a person begins to weigh how to return to the Creator, when he knows that he has many iniquities and transgressions, the Holy Source says about this that the person should know that he is always regarded as half and half. That is, he is half merits and half faults, and he can always choose to sentence the side of merit. It is, as a sages said, one should always see oneself as half guilty and half not guilty. If he has performed one mitzvah, good deed, or a commandment, he is happy, for he has sentenced himself and the entire world to the side of merit. E.t. we should interpret the reason as our sages said he was greater than his friend. His desire is greater than him. This is so because if he is not given a greater evil inclination, he will not have the choice. Since if the good is more than the bad, he does not have a choice, as choosing is precisely when both are equal, and the person decides by that. You will understand what our sages said in the future. The end of correction, the Creator brings the evil inclination and slaughters it before the righteous and before the wicked. To the righteous it seems like a high mountain, to the wicked it seems like a hair's breadth. We should understand who is right, meaning what is the measure of the evil inclination. However, as I have explained, the wicked have a few merits, so their evil inclination is not so big, but only hair is breadth. This is so because in order for it to be half and half, when there is little good, there must be little bad. But the righteous have many merits, so their evil inclination must be big as well. Therefore in the righteous the evil inclination is a high mountain. By that you will understand people's questions about the verse, come on to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart. Does it mean that the Creator denied him the choice by hardening his heart? According to what I have explained, it is the opposite. By the Creator harden his heart, can make a choice once more. For when Pharaoh said the Lord is righteous and I and my people are wicked, it means that he is already sentenced to the side of merit, and he is entirely good and has nothing more to do. For this reason, in accord with his good the Creator had to increase the evil inclination, as our sage says anyone who is greater than his friends, his inclination is greater than him. Therefore when the Creator hardened his heart he could make a choice once more. May the Lord grant us two portions, healing and salvation, from your friend who wishes you and your family all the best. Shalom. Know how to make a state like propaganda. We read about in the previous article how to make propaganda between us that when the evil inclination awakens in a person that it's advancement, that it's the Creator inviting them to feel that they can determine to hear or to their what propaganda can we do between us and the 10 in order to increase the advancement through recognition of evil. Respect it may be, can we say such a thing, or is it to respect it you have to increase the evil? But there's a difference whether you see the evil is great or you increase it. We don't need to increase their evil, but the evil that's in us, that it'll seem unbearable, that we can't stand it. That's something else. I guess maybe the direction is that recognition of evil causes us to want to get rid of the ego of the evil, that the Creator will help us in that. Yes, so recognition of evil is a good thing, but its purpose is to increase the good inclination, not the evil itself of yes, and to he can stand it. Yeah, well, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I just want to continue what have started, because I know a phenomena that a person who grabs his evil inclination, he says he doesn't have a place here and he runs away from the campaign. He just escapes. So the question is, how can we take friends that are in such states and give them this lore everything but leave that all scrutinies and all the continuation can only happen here and not on the outside? Even if a person feels that he is going to harm and he's evil and he has no, I think we're constantly learning that this is the place for the wicked, and we're revealing the evil, and we just have to grab it, and in the hands and the legs and the tail and whatever you can. I don't think that there are people here that if they see the evil they run away. No, wrong. I also don't see how there are so many wicked here before us. That's also not so good. But the society is not meant to reveal to us these wicked. Okay, who was there? Yes, when he says that he reveals greater evil every time, that means that he sees cruelty in himself that weren't there before. Or is it the same thing, but his attitude towards this negative side changes? He discovers what was there. Of course, I don't understand. He discovers what was there before he discovered what was there before. So there's nothing new here, just his attitude changes. Yes, can okay. Yes, according to what he describes, the Creator always makes sure that the side of merit and the side of and the other side will always be equal. So why does it say that he should always see himself half and half if the Creator is in charge of that? So what should a person make efforts with? No, it's not the Creator that cares for that. A person needs to care for that. He explains that the righteous have more merit, so the Creator gives them more iniquities. Or no. When a person begins to measure how return to create, when he knows that he now has many transgressions and crimes, for this the Holy Zor comes and says that a person should know that he is always regarded as half and half, while and so on. So when a person feels that he's full of evil, yet so you're reminded that you can correct. Yes, understand that choice is given to us because there's no in spirituality, no coin in love, and we need to choose to bestow. We also hear that what the Creator wants us to choose, and you choose life. What his desire is. Sometimes a person feels he's in the point of choice and he's so ashamed that he's about to exploit this freedom for the bad what the Creator gave him according to his feeling and his opinion, that everything was made of love, and he now is going to choose incorrectly, not according to the Creator's desire. From the shame he supposedly chooses what's desired in the eyes of the Creator. The question is this true choice? To me it seems no. That's why I'm asking you, is that true choice, that because of shame a person chooses, that he chooses the shame pushes him? Yes, so is that called choice? What do we need for it to become a choice that doesn't depend that he doesn't feel suffering. And what for him to rise above all, that's taking place beyond his feelings, so how will he choose? That's a paradox, that's the question. It's not a paradox, it's theirs. No choice in that we are creatures of feeling and intellect and these things, and with all those conditions we need to choose between the good and bad, so we can't really disconnect from his feeling. Right, no thank you already had. Yes, why is a person's awareness to correct the soul strengthen the light that reforms? Because the soul is connected to the light, thank you. Yes, women Hebrew 1 are asking what does it mean that for the righteous low inclination seems like a high mountain, and to the wicked a then a threat. Well, what does this talk about? For the righteous the evil in condition seems like a high mountain, meaning that they don't have the forces for that to rise above it. And for the wicked they say, what's this? We'll just jump through the this hair's breadth. It's no breath, no, it's really like as if it's like on the land, that's the difference. But in truth, the difference between a hair's breadth and a whole mountain is the whole mountain that there is between this and that. So what's the question? You answered it, one or adding, is there a clear sign to discern between good and bad? Is that the sign that there's a high mountain or a here? If they look at it correctly, then certainly that's how it is. Women Hebrew 1 and women PT 23 and PT 6 are asking, I heard you saying that society shouldn't reveal the wicked. What did you mean? A person needs to do that, not the society. The society just gives him light that reforms, it passes to him discernment, different discernments, but he takes them and arranges them towards his individual state. Key of 7. Why is choice always through the environment? We have nothing to establish ourselves before, only towards the environment. It's that same the conditions details that we exist upon. Last question, women now. Yes, what's the right way to connect in the tend to receive with an open heart, everyone, and then you will be able to make the right discernments. What does it mean with an open heart? Let everyone enter your heart, and then when they are in your heart, standing in your heart, then you will ask the Creator for the sermons this that are necessary. Can a person let people into his heart without help from above? No. Where that thank you, Kay. Yes, can I ask about the prayer we have after their lesson? I see that the prayer according to what the people see from the great assembly organized, it brings you to a state of subjugation towards the upper force. Is that something that should awaken as a result? Yes, that's a good result, a correct result, and a nice one. What is how do you accept the control of the upper force upon us? That the upper force is the upper force, and it is always has done, does, and will do all the actions, and what we want think for it to be like this, like that. It has no influence on him, rather what he needs to do, he will do upon us. We learn for years, thanks to you, the Creator isn't an image God. Forbid, it's a quality of bestow love. So what does it mean to lower your head towards the quality of bestow in love? That image that I want to depict before me is the Creator. I want to incorporate from that I want to bestow to him. I want to open my heart and my mind for him to fill as much as possible all those rooms. And that's the actual prayer. I want to be filled by the Creator. We need to try and recognize this entrance into the upper force, and yes, somehow connected to the attitude to the 10, that there is where we enter, and we are incorporated by the 10, and we want this corporation to be filled by the Creator. So in that direction we can really enter the text. Yes, no more questions, there are there. Yes. Please, can we say that a good result from an action like we're doing now, that it's to feel that we must add the intention into it, because the actions mean nothing without going into an inner effort. And yes, shirt question, does a person choose, or does he let the Creator choose it? Do how he addresses we, either he chose and wants the Creator to accompany him words, or he's asking the Creator to choose and then he will accompany him. It depends on the place he's in. Do you have advice how to let the Creator choose. Or with words try to address him in such way to ask him to choose. Yes, good morning to continue of, so the only choice a person has is to turn to the Creator. He doesn't have any choice. But that because there's always a struggle between reception and bestow. That's the essence of the choice. Turn to their Creator. Yes, that's it. Is so then you're ready for the prayer? No. Well, yes, sir. PR to their Creator. Is that to say that the Creator is the one who determines and not me? Okay. Yes. Okay, so you're ready. Let's go. So a few announcements, dear friends. We recommend every 10 do these 3 tasks. 1. Read tomorrow's excerpt from the writings of the last generation. 2. In your words, write central points from the article. 3. Prepare questions towards the lesson tomorrow, and you're welcome to World Unity Evening Building a Spiritual Society, Sunday, June 30th. It will be broadcasts on the system, and whoever wants to come physically has to register today. Schedule at noon the recorded lesson. 5:30 reading test. 7:30 reading. Said Dear Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Blessed is his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your possessions. And these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart, and you shall teach them sharply to your children. You shall discuss them when you sit in your house, when you travel on the road, when you lie down, and when you rise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for twos between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gateways. And it will be if you vigilantly obey my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and serve him with your entire hearts and with your entire souls, that I will give rain for your land, and its proper time, the early autumn rain and the late spring rain, and you will harvest your grain and your wine and your oil, and I will put grass in your fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. Beware lest your hearts be swayed and you turn astray, and you worship alien gods and bow to them, and the Lord's fury will blaze among you, and he will close off the heavens, and there will be no rain, and the earth will not yield its produce, and ye will perish swiftly from the good land which the Lord gives you. Place these words of mine upon your hearts and upon your souls, and bite them for a sign upon your hands, and they shall be for twos between your eyes. And you shall teach them to your sons to speak them when you sit in your house, and when you travel on your road, and when you lie down, and when you rise. And you shall write them upon on the doorposts of your house and upon your gateways, in order that your days be prolonged, and the days of your children upon the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, for as long as the heavens are above the earth. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and tell them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and they will place with their fringes of each corner a thread of blue, and it will be to you for fringes. And you will look upon it, and you will remember all the commandments of the Lord, and you will perform them, and you will not turn aside after your hearts and after your eyes, which cause you to go astray, in order that you will remember and perform all my commandments, and you will be holy unto your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your God. I am the Lord your God, is true. A Medar 18. Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. Blessed are you, the Lord our God, and God of our fathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, the Almighty, the great, the powerful, the awesome, most high, almighty, who bestows beneficent kindness, who possesses everything, who remembers the pity of the patriarchs, and who brings a Redeemer to their children's children, for the sake of his name, with love. King, helper, and deliverer, and shield. Blessed are you, the Lord shield of Abraham, you are mighty forever, my master. You are the resurrector of the dead, said the powerful one, to deliver us. In the summer he brings down dew, in the winter causes the wind to blow, and the rain to fall. Sustainer of the living with kindliness, resurrector of the dead with great mercy, supporter of the fallen, and healer of the sick, and releaser of the imprisoned, and fulfiller of his faithfulness to those who sleep in the dust, who is like you, master of mighty deeds, and who can be compared to you, king who causes death and restores life, and causes deliverance to sprout forth, and you are faithful to restore the dead to life. Blessed are you, the Lord, resurrector of the dead. We will hallow and revere you as with the sweet words of the company of the Holy Spirit, Sim, who thrice repeat, holy unto you, as it is written by the hand of your prophet. And they called to one another and said, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the fullness of all the earth is his glory. Those facing them say, blessed is the glory of the Lord from its place. And then your holy words, it is written, the Lord will reign forever. Your God Zion throughout all generations praise God. You are holy, and your name is holy, and holy beings praise you every day forever. For great and almighty King, great and holy are you. Blessed are you, the Lord, the Almighty, the Holy One. You favor with perception and teach mankind understanding. Grant us from your wisdom understanding and knowledge. Blessed are you, the Lord, granter of perception. Cause us to return, our Father, to your Torah, and bring us near, our King, to your service, and bring us back in wholehearted repentance before you. Blessed are you, the Lord, who desires penitence. Pardon us, our Father, for we have sinned. Forgive us, our King, for we have transgressed. For you are good and forgiving, Almighty. Blessed are you, the Lord, gracious one, who pardons abundantly. Look, please, upon your affliction, and defend our cause, and redeem us speedily with complete redemption for the sake of your name, because you are a mighty Redeemer. Blessed are you, the Lord, Redeemer of Israel. Heal us, the Lord, and we will be healed. Deliver us, and we will be delivered, for you are our praise. Grant the cure and healing to all our sickness, and to all our pain, and to all our affliction, because you are the Almighty King, who is faithful and merciful. Healer. Blessed are you, the Lord, healer of the sick of his people Israel. Bless for us the Lord our God this year, and all the varieties of its produce for good, and bestow in the summer blessing, in the winter dew and rain, for a blessing upon the face of the earth. Satisfy us from your bounty, for you are generous, Almighty, who bestows goodness and blesses the years. Blessed are you, the Lord, blesser of the years. Found the great shofar for our liberty, and raise a banner to gather our exiles, and gather us together quickly from the four corners of the earth into our land. Blessed are you, the Lord, gatherer of the dispersed of his people Israel. Restore our judges as before, and our counselors as at first. Remove from us sorrow and sighing, and over us quickly, you, the Lord, alone, with kindness and compassion, and make us righteous with righteousness and justice. Blessed are you, the Lord, King, lover of righteousness and justice. For informers let there be no hope, and may all wickedness instantly perish. May all your enemies be swiftly cut off, and the insolent may you quickly uproot. Crush out disgrace, and humble and subdue speedily in our days. Blessed are you, the Lord, crusher of enemies, and subduer of the insolent. Upon the righteous, upon the ours, upon the true prelate, and upon us may your mercy be aroused. The Lord our God grant bountiful reward to all who trust in your name in truth, and place our lot among them. And may we never be put to shame, for in you we have put her trust. Blessed are you, the Lord, support and trust of the righteous, and to Jerusalem your city return in mercy, and dwell therein as you have spoken, and rebuild it soon in our days as an everlasting structure, and the throne of David your servant may you speedily establish therein. Blessed are you, the Lord, builder of Jerusalem, the sprout of David your servant, speedily caused to flourish, and exalt his power with your deliverance. For your deliverance we hope all day, and watch for your deliverance. Blessed are you, the Lord, cause us to sprout the power of salvation. Merciful Father, hear our voice. The Lord our God spare us, and have compassion on us, and accept our prayers compassionately and willingly. For you are Almighty, who hears prayers and supplications, and from your presence, our King, do not turn us away empty-handed. Be gracious and answer us, and hear our prayer, for you hear the prayers of every mouth of your people. Israel with compassion. Blessed are you, the Lord who hears prayers. Be pleased, the Lord our God, with your people Israel, and pay need to their prayer, and restore the service to the Holy of Holies in your abode, and the fire offerings of Israel, and accept their prayer lovingly and willingly, and may ye always find pleasure with the service of your people Israel, and may our eyes behold your merciful return to Zion. Blessed are you, the Lord, who returns his divine presence to Zion. We are thankful to you that you, the Lord, are our God, and the God of our fathers forever, rock of our lives, the shield of our deliverance. You are in every generation. We will give thanks to you and recount your praise for our lives, which are committed into your hand, and for our souls, which are entrusted to you, and for your miracles of every day with us, and for your wonders and benefactions at all times, evening, morning, and noon. You are the beneficent one, for your compassion is never withheld, and you are the merciful one, for your kindliness never ceases. For we have always placed our hope in you, and for all the foregoing blessed, exalted, and extolled your name, our King, constantly, forever and ever, and all the living shall thank you forever, and praise and bless your great name with sincerity forever. For you are goodness, the Almighty, who is our deliverance and our help forever, the benevolent Almighty. Blessed are you, the Lord, the beneficent is your name, and you it is fitting to praise our God and God of our fathers. Bless us with the threefold blessing of the Torah, written by the hand of Moses, your servant, pronounced from the mouth of Aaron and his sons the Kohen, your holy people, as it is said, may the Lord bless you and guard you. May the Lord shine his countenance upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord turn his countenance toward you and grant you peace. Grant peace, goodness, and blessing, life, flavor, kindness, and compassion upon us and upon all Israel, your people. Bless us, our Father, all of us, as one with the light of your countenance. For by the light of your countenance you gave us, Lord our God, a tower of life, and the love of kindliness, righteousness, blessing, compassion, life, and peace. And may it be good in your sight to bless us and to bless your people Israel at all times and at every moment with your peace, with much strength and peace. Blessed are you, the Lord, who blesses his people Israel with peace. Amen, amen, amen. Ye hear, Amen, amen, amen. Amen.